Leaving mainstream religion is such a profound and personal journey. It's something people like Richard Ravenbrook talk about a lot. The idea of not just walking away from dogma, but walking towards something that resonates deeply with who you are. And honestly, this idea of reconnecting with ancestral roots, it strikes a chord with me personally.
Oh yeah? What's the story there?
Well, my grandmother, she was this amazing woman who grew up in a small, rural village. And she had all these little remedies, herbs she'd picked from her garden, old techniques passed down for generations. To her, it wasn't magic, right? It was just life. What nature provided to get through the tough times.
Wait, you're telling me Grandma Marquette was out there brewing some kind of magical potions? Like Eye of Newt, Tail of...
Not quite. Think more along the lines of tinctures for colds, salves for burns. But listen, her belief in the natural world's power, that's where it connects. It was almost reverence. Her wisdom made me realise that traditions don't have to come from big institutions. They can come from family, from what's been passed down quietly.
Totally. I mean, that's the whole point, isn't it? Rediscovering those personal ties. It's what Richard Ravenbrook talks about when he encourages people to step away from the pressure to fit into someone else's spiritual box.
Exactly. And I think it opens doors to explore paths that feel more authentic. Ravenbrook mentions pagan traditions and magical practices for this very reason. They're not about rigid rules, but a sense of freedom. And, there's beauty in that. A connection directly to spirit, to nature, even to yourself.
Right? And honestly, I love how paganism dives into the earth, the seasons, the cycles, things we all experience, but don't always stop to absorb,
Yeah, it's something truly grounded, a way of stepping back from the noise and asking, what felt true to my ancestors? What feels true to me?
And not just getting caught up in that hamster wheel of religion, right? Like obey this, conform to that. It can be exhausting.
Absolutely. And when we step back to ask those questions, it's empowering. We carve a path for ourselves, free from assumptions or expectations. It's liberating.
It's kind of ironic. After talking about empowerment and personal connection to spirit, you start to notice just how much of mainstream religion has been twisted into a tool for control. It's like the connection gets completely lost for the sake of obedience.
Right, and Richard Ravenbrook really doesn't hold back when he calls that out. He's clear, religion can be a powerful tool, but when it's used to manipulate or divide, it loses its essence. And when you think about it, how fragmented Christianity is, over 40,000 denominations? That speaks volumes about its internal contradictions.
I know, 40,000? That's wild. How do you even keep track of all that? It's like, no wonder people get overwhelmed and start questioning all over again.
Exactly. And it's those contradictions that push people to deconstruct, to step away from mainstream narratives. Ravenbrook talks about how doctrines that claim to unite actually fracture communities, creating more division. Which, let's be honest, seems counterproductive for something that's meant to promote peace and unity.
So counterproductive. And look at what's happening now. Politics and religion are so tangled up, it's hard to tell where one starts and the other ends. Like, I saw this headline the other day about protests over new laws trying to force religious ideas into public schools. It's a mess.
That's a perfect example. Public institutions should be places of inclusion, not indoctrination. Ravenbrook makes this point so well. It's not just about respecting different beliefs, it's about protecting everyone's freedom to choose their own path.
Right. Like, how is it fair to push one belief system on kids whose families might see the world completely differently? It's like this constant tug of war over who gets to call the shots when, really, no one should. It's about letting people, families especially, decide for themselves.
Absolutely. And that's where the deeper question comes in. How do we move away from manipulation and division and instead start focusing on unity? Because at the root of it, that's what spirituality should be about. Bringing people together, not driving wedges between them.
Yeah, unity and respect. Like, why is it so revolutionary to think that it's okay for everyone to walk their own spiritual path? How can we, as Ravenbrook says, empower each other instead of tearing each other down?
And it starts with awareness. By calling out the systems that hold people back, we create space for genuine connection, whether to spirit, to nature, or just to each other. Ravenbrook believes in this deeply, and I mean, if we could even begin to approach the world like that.
it'd be a completely different place.
And bringing it back to what Ravenbrook emphasizes so strongly, this idea of finding spiritual authority within yourself, it really ties into what we were just saying. When he quotes Jesus' words, "The kingdom of God is within you," it's like an invitation to rethink how we seek guidance, right? It's not about outside institutions or intermediaries. It's about realizing that connection and clarity are already within us.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful wake-up call for a lot of people, you know? Like sometimes it feels like, okay, imagine you're always chasing something outside of yourself, putting faith in things that don't even represent you. And then bam, you realize you had the answers, or at least the starting point all along.
Exactly. And Ravenbrook connects this inner realization to larger societal issues, like his advocacy for women, LGBTQ+ rights, and marginalized groups. It's all tied together. When we look inward and connect with our own divinity, we start to see the divine in others too. And it makes things like equality and justice not just ideals, but necessities.
Totally. And hey, speaking of justice, let me tell you about this community group in Melbourne I got involved with a while back. They're all about interfaith dialogue, bringing pagans, Christians, Muslims, you name it, together to actually talk and listen to each other.
That's an incredible concept. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, at first, I'll admit I wasn't sure how it'd go, especially with so many different beliefs in one room. But what blew me away was how open people were. There was this one session where a pagan elder talked about honoring the earth, and then a Catholic priest chimed in about stewardship. Turns out they weren't that far apart. It was all about finding common ground.
Which really speaks to Ravenbrook's point about unity. When you strip away labels and preconceived notions, we're often striving for the same things: peace, respect, understanding. And it's through these conversations, these bridges, that true progress happens.
Exactly. And the way Ravenbrook ties it back to spirituality, it's not about deciding whose god or goddess is right, but about embracing what works for each person and extending that same grace to others.
Yes, and the beauty of that approach is its inclusivity. It's inherently empowering. When we honour the divinity within ourselves, we start tearing down the barriers that divide us, be it religion, race, gender, or anything else.
Right? It's kind of funny in a sad way, that the more we try to enforce one way of thinking, the more we lose sight of what spirituality should be about: connection to ourselves, to others, and to the world as a whole.
Exactly. And if there's one thing this episode highlights, it's that rediscovering our inner divinity isn't just a personal journey. It's a collective one. It's about advocating for a world where everyone is free to explore and live their truth.
And understanding that true strength lies in unity, not in uniformity. So, how about we leave everyone with this? Look inward, find the spark that's already there, and maybe, just maybe, you'll start seeing it in others too.
Beautifully said, Ruby. On that note, thank you for joining us today. Until next time, take care and keep the journey within alive.